Hi, this is Gizditch, and I will be teaching you on how to make a table that consists of rows and columns for your program. So that means that we have to use the JTable in order to make the table for our program. So far, I imported the JFrame and the JPanel library. This class extended the JPanel, so that means that this whole class is considered as a JPanel. I made a blank constructor, I made a main method, and I also made the JFrame for the program. I added the JPanel onto the frame. If you have everything like I have, then let's begin. First thing first is to make the JTable object. So type in JTable variable and a semicolon. Make sure that you import the JTable so we can use the JTable to make our table. After this, then let's continue on into the constructor. Now we have to work on the columns of the table. I want this table to have three columns. So in order to make the three columns, we have to make a string array. So string, close brackets, square brackets, and name this array columns and set it equal to the curly braces and the semicolon. Like I said, I want this table to have three columns. So that means that we have to type in three values for this string array. So for the first column, let's name it as name. The second column, let's name it as age. The, the last one, let's call it as gender. Now we have the three columns. Now let's make the rows. This time we have to make the two-dimensional array. So string, two pairs of closed brackets, and name it as data and set it equal to the two curly braces and a semicolon. The reason why we use a two-dimensional array for this is because that each value of this array will have an array itself inside of this array. So for the first value, we have to make the two curly brace again, and we have to make the values for each uh, yeah for each one inside of the inside array that correspond with the column. So the first one, the first value inside of this array underneath name, type in John, my name, age, let's say 18, gender, male. And that's it for the first value. For the second value, make sure that you have another array for the second value. And let's type in Daisy for the name underneath the column of name. Daisy, let's say age 19, and the gender will be female. Oops, female, okay. The next one, let's name it Dave um, let's say 23. Oops, 23 in male. And the last one, let's make let's make 4 rows. Yeah, we're making 4 rows. And the last one, let's name it as Jake. Jake, age 30, and male. And we're done with the two-dimensional array. We have this curly brace closing with this one, and we have this curly brace closed with this one, and so on. So yes, now we have the column. Yeah, we have the columns and the rows. We have 4 rows and 3 columns. So now we have to use the variable from here, JT, and set it equal to new JTable, open and close parentheses, and a semicolon. Inside, we use the row first. We type in the row first, which is data. So type in data, and the last one is columns. Now we have our table. Yeah, we're done with this object. And now we set the size of the window. So JT dot set preferred scrollable viewport size inside of this parentheses, new dimension, open and close parentheses, and a semicolon. Make sure that you import the dimension library so we can set the size of this table. Yeah, just pretend that this right here, the set preferred scrollable viewport size, pretend that it says set size instead. So this parentheses right here takes 2 arguments. The first argument takes the width of the table, and the last argument takes the size of the height. So let's do 450 by 63. And after this, then we had to set the visibility to true. So JT dot set fills viewport equals to true. Set fills viewport height is like the same thing as saying set visible true. So you just pretend that this right here says set visible true, but you gotta memorize this one though, this line and this line too, in order to construct the table. Alright, well now after this, then we have to make another object, which is the J scroll pane and variable equals new J scroll pane. And the you type JT inside of this parentheses. The reason why we made this object is because that not always our table can show all of our rows. If the table can't show all of our rows, then it'll have a scroll bar. So that's why we added the scroll bar onto the table. So we have to use this and add it onto the J panel. So add JPS semicolon. And now let's see what our program looks like. Now we have a table, 4 rows and 3 columns, and we got a scroll bar here. You can edit the information too, like you can change it to J And you can also flip the columns to different places. If you don't want your table to be editable like this, changing the information, then you simply make this, yeah, you make this as a class basically. You have the curly brace. Yeah, this can be like a class, and you can have methods in here too. In order to prevent the users to edit the table, we have to make a method, which is the public boolean is cell editable, and type in int data and int columns. I mean, yeah. And this right here has to return false, since this is a boolean method. And make sure that you have a semicolon after this curly brace right here. So this object is treated like a class. So now let's run it and see if we can edit this. Nope, we can't edit it. Alright, well now there's one more thing that I gotta teach you. What if I want to add a shading to each row, like a pattern? Like this one here is white, and this is like light gray, white, light gray, and so on. Well, I'll show you how to do that now. In order to do that, you have to make another method inside of this JTable kind of class with a curly brace. Inside, you have to make uh, a method which is public component. Hold on, it got to be cap. Component prepare render and have open close parentheses and yeah, curly braces. And make sure that you import the component library so you can use this method. Alright, well now for the first argument you type in an object which is table cell render and let's name it as R, the variable, int data, and int column. And make sure that you import this table cell renderer. Now we have that. And this, we have to use the an object which is component, make a variable C equals set it equal to super prepare renderer, and yeah, the R, because we got the R here, and we have to type the R in here too, and data from here and columns from here. So yes, this is a built-in method that came from the library, so that's why we have super, and we set this right here equals to C right here, so the C has the value. And make sure that you have the semicolon. And now we have to type in the if else statement. So type in if data is modulus 2, then set it equals to 0. Like if that ever happens, Then, hold on, hold on. Then you set the background color to white. And I'll explain what data modulus 2 mean after I get done typing this. Color.white. Alright, well now the color is good. Alright, let me explain what modulus does. This right here is basically like dividing. If you have a remainder, then it'll output the remainder onto the screen. And like if the remainder is 0, then the row will be white. So the data, the first one, is considered as 0. The second one is considered as 1, 2, and 3. So 0 divided by 2 would be 0 and has no remainder. So therefore, this first row will be white. And for the second one, 1 divided by 2 equals half, meaning that there's a remainder of 1. So this right here won't be white, the second row. And the third one will be white because 2 divided by 2 is 1, and there's no remainder. So white and gray. So this is how we tell Java to have a pattern of rows, to have a color and not to have a color. And for the else, we set the background c.set background to gray, light gray. So yeah, we use the component C and we set the color of the component C. And yeah, make sure that you return C also. Return C and semicolon. And now let's see what it looks like. Now we have a good looking table. But like, I want to have one more feature. When I click on some row, I want it to light up to a different color. And once I click away from it, then it'll go back to normal. So let's make another if statement. So type in if is cell selected and have your data in your columns. Yeah, make sure you have your data in columns inside of this parentheses from this argument of this method. And you set the background color to any color you want basically. So I'll set mine to green. So yeah, if I selected a row, then it'll highlight green. And I'll show you right now. So this is our table. I click, it's green. Cool, huh?